Hello, everyone. I'm Len Vermillion, Editorial Director with Hart Energy. I'm here with Marshall Adkins of Raymond James. Marshall just got off the stage here at Doug Permian, and we're going to talk a little bit about fundamentals and the market on the oil together. So, Marshall, thanks for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for including me.
Let's start at the beginning. What do the fundamentals for oil look like right now in the global market?
You know, I've been doing this a long time, Lynn. It's over 25 years, and I've never seen the fundamentals better. The market is meaningfully undersupplied right now. Demand's about to go up, over the next 6 to 12 months, and as hopefully the vaccines get distributed around the world. And the combination of that, is leading us to a situation where I think we're going to be undersupplied for the next 3 years, i.e. inventories fall meaningfully to the point where crude moves up and stays up for the next 5 years.
Right. Well, certainly demand is definitely coming back. I mean, just traveling here, anecdotally, obviously, people all over the airports, the roads, we got plenty of people here in the convention center. So do you just see demand increasing? Like, how much can we expect that?
I'm being conservative on my assumptions. Most people think we get back to average 2019 levels by the end of this year.
Really?
Which is about 100 million barrels a day. I will tell you, when we get back to 100 million, whether it's the end of this year or the middle of next year, that's the point at which OPEC's maxed out. And I'm talking all of their excess capacity on the table being produced. And there's very few times in the last half century where we've ever seen that happen.
Right.
It's really bullish.
I don't really know you to be conservative with your estimates, so that's a little surprising to me. But anyway, you brought up OPEC. They've been in the news recently here, obviously the meeting and so forth. So how much is Saudi taking back control of everything in the Middle East?
I think Saudi's setting up to totally control this over the next 6 months.
Right.
There's about 5.5 million of excess capacity within OPEC Plus today.
Mm-hmm.
Of that, UAE's been in the spotlight. Oh, they didn't agree.
Right.
They want to hire, whatever. Well, they have about 500,000 of excess right now. Big deal. We're growing demand per month right now, 500,000 to 1 million every month. So that's not a huge deal. The bigger issue is of that 5.5, Saudi is 2 million a day. Mm-hmm. So almost 40% of that excess capacity Saudi. So they can let everyone ramp right back up. We're going to need all of that crude. Then Saudi will be able to dictate whatever price. The big difference today versus other times we've seen in the past, Saudi's made it very clear they want higher prices.
Right.
UAE, Russia, others said, "Whoa, we don't want to encourage U.S. shale." So they're kind of playing a little more coy. Saudi said, Abdulaziz been very clear on this. We're okay with higher prices.
Right. So then,
and their break even 75, 80.
Really?
So in terms of their social costs and everything. So I think that Saudi will be in complete control within the next 6 months. Mm-hmm. Again, assuming the vaccines get distributed and COVID fades slowly. And that's going to set up for a sustained price, I think, of kind of 75, 80 as the right price. Now, the problem is, we're assuming all of OPEC is producing all out, including Iran.
Right.
Well, how often does that happen without anyone going down? There's always a screw up in OPEC. Right. So I'm very bullish on that fundamental outlook, not just for the next 6 months, which is to me pretty clear, but I think it's going to take, this is at least a 5-year phenomenon.
Wow. So when you say 75, 80 seems like the right price, and I hear that a lot from people, should we be worried if things go up to 90 or 100? Would that change things for the U.S. shale?
No, because in the U.S. we printed so many dollars that the impact of $100 oil is not what it was 10 years ago, right? So it hurts a little. It's a tax on, society. It'll be on every national news channel that big oil is screwing us.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not going to deter those consumption habits. And so I think you need to get meaningfully above 100 for that to happen. even though the right price is we calculate based on the number of rigs we need to grow U.S. production and whatnot is in the $80-ish range, we're going to overshoot that. We just will. Now, will we have to overshoot enough to squeeze out a substantial portion of demand because someone in OPEC, like Iran, goes offline? Mm-hmm. Maybe. But that number, I think, is in the $120 to $150 range,
That's
not the 80, 90, 100 range.
Okay. What about storage? I mean, what's our situation there? I know you talked a little bit about that.
To me, that's what the market is generally missing. We built massive inventories in 2020 because it was a demand shock unlike anything we've ever seen. And so most people's models in the IEA were telling us, oh, inventories built 1.5 billion. No, if you look at crude and products all combined globally, and they have good satellite data on a lot of this stuff now that we didn't used to have 10 years ago, we can see that inventories only built about half that amount. That's all been worked off. We've gotten rid of all of that overhang already. The problem is we're going to overshoot that to the downside. In other words, inventories are going to end up well below normal as OPEC keeps oil off the market and U.S. and others struggle to grow production. We are going to be behind the curve, and I think that's what's going to lend to a multi-year support for crude, in the 75 plus range.
Okay. Well, it sounds great. We started this interview by saying fundamentals have never been better. So give me your thoughts on what the next year or two look like for the U.S. oil and gas.
There's so many things that are different. I always say, it's not different this time. It's always the same. U.S. E&Ps are being much more deliberate in terms of the public ones, in terms of focusing on returns, and that's very different. The starvation of capital to the industry by all of the markets, the starvation of capital by the majors for the offshore projects, right? They're backing away from everything. We've never seen in our careers those things come to bear at the same time. It's going to limit production growth, I think, versus what we would have seen in the past. And again, that supports a generally higher price and better returns for the industry for at least the next 5 years. I think the returns for the industry in general, E&P in particular, are going to be outstanding for the next 5 years.
Wonderful. Well, Marshall, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I know a lot of people here want to talk to you, so I'm going to let you go.
Thank you, Lynn.
Again, this is Marshall Adkins from Raymond James, and thank you for watching.
For more Hart Energy videos, follow our social media channels.